Hello, hello, hello. It is Keep That Same Energy Thursday, y'all. It has been 2 months, 2 months, 2 months, 2 months since you've seen this beautiful face and this wonderful logo. Huh? Huh? And heard about your topics of the Black community so eloquently presented in such a platform. And so I would like to say, Welcur back to the family. We are coming back for season 2. There's already so much to talk about, unfortunately. But we're gonna do some highlighting, okay, some good highlights, and then we're gonna talk about what's next. Okay, how are we going to keep that same energy in 2021? So before we get off into that thing, we got to share it, right? So you guys have access to join in the situation. So I'm getting ready to share it to Ryan to your page. I'm going to share it to a couple groups. Cedric's going to share it to his page. It's available on YouTube Live under the Ryan to Your channel. So all you got to really do is just right now, if you want to, go to YouTube and search for, what do I have this titled as? KTSE Welcur. So I'm going to put it in here as well in the chat so that you can see how to find it on YouTube in case you want to share with somebody via YouTube. But I'm always going to stream on YouTube so that you guys have more than one way to get this information, get this video. And the reason why I'm doing it like that is because of some of the topics, because of some of the allies and some of the people who have been guests, they've been wanting copies of our sessions, of our episodes to share with people so they can understand, like, basically the point of the show, right? So they can get the information out there, so we can get the support, we can get the help. And that is one mainstream way that I can make sure the information is out there for you guys, especially when we have guests on here that's teaching you something and giving you vital information. So we're going to take a couple of minutes to share to get you guys in here, because it has been a couple of months and y'all got to get back into the swag of things, honey. So let's get on up in here. Let's get on up and through. So I reshared it to this particular page just because I want to make sure it was at the top of the post page. And now I am sharing it to all the various places. So just be on the lookout. Just be checking us out in the different arenas so that you can make sure that you can partake in the conversation tonight, and as well as getting yourself back accustomed to being a part of the conversation. Because I always value your opinions. I always value your feedback. I always value your input. I always value you coming on here. I definitely appreciate all those who have joined, who started following, who share, who follow our videos. We have went from me requesting for 100 followers to having 215 followers. So that's amazing. That's amazing, you guys. I appreciate you oh so much. And the last time we were on here, I talked about how we've been popping up in different countries, people watching and participating and looking and getting the information. And that is the whole point of the show, to raise awareness about our I'm not even gonna say our struggles. I dare not even keep saying that we're struggling, about our Black experience. So those who are can get information on how to be empowered, how to move forward, access opportunities, different resources they may need, different levels of education. But for our allies, those who are trying to help, they know exactly what is it that we need, what we're looking for, and how to move forward. Because if you don't know what the problem is, how are you going to help the problem? And then you won't even realize that your silence is kind of being a part, because you're, even the smallest thing, which we'll talk about in today's show, even the smallest thing you can help. So come on in the room. We have like 30 more seconds before we go ahead and begin our topic of discussion. Again, I'm gonna put in the chats how you can find us on YouTube. as well as in the chat. Put your questions, put your comments, engage, be a part of the show. Because you know I'm going to mention you when we're talking. Cedric, how you feeling today?
Man, I am doing well today. Rested and rested. We'll talk about that a little bit. I took a month off of social media, and
Ooh.
man, it did well for my mind. Focused at work and kind of brought some clarity. And I recommend everybody does it periodically. Man, I might do it again sometime this summer. Just to
Ooh.
just take a month off, just to relax a little bit and not give so much of myself. I had to recharge my batteries, so I'm doing well though. Doing well.
Yes, I believe that is obviously one of the big things when you're setting boundaries and protecting your peace. That is a part of self care. You have to disconnect, you have to recharge, you have to refocus, and you have to get yourself back on what is it that I'm trying to do and how am I giving back to me and freeing up space instead of being overtaken by. Sometimes you just get sucked into social media. Like it's just a domino effect. And then there's a whole lot going on there as well.
So I had to sit back and look at um, in March, everybody began to post a lot more because that's when we shut down, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we move into April, May, and we get into our social justice time.
Yes.
Um, I was out at several different protests. I was hit by a truck at one protest, and just giving of myself in a lot of different
Mm-hmm.
ways. And then we moved into the voting, whether
Yeah.
it was the early voting for the primary, and then the early voting for the general election, and then I
Mm-hmm.
transitioned right from there into a small business expo event that we did,
Yes.
and that led into the Black Santa stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and so I was giving of myself quite a bit. It was rewarding
Mm-hmm.
what I was getting back, and the people I met, and new friends that I have as a result of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But again, I need to recoil. As much as you guys see me out there, I'm an introvert, which means I recharge from inside. Not mean that I want to be away from people, but I recharge from inside. You
Mm-hmm.
guys, you guys don't fill me up. Seeing what I've done and how it impacts other people fills me up. Understanding how my life can be helpful to other people fills me,
Mm-hmm.
not being around other people, right? And so I need to take a month just to kind of recoil, get back into me, started a new job, and that gave me some time to really focus and get really good at what we do here. And so, yeah, that it was great.
Well, good. Good to hear that refresh, recharge. That is amazing. And while we are talking about being refreshed and recharged, welcome everyone to season 2 of Keep That Same Energy. And that was not a boob shot, that was a shirt shot. I'm so excited to be back. Of course, I could have come back in January. I wanted to come back in January. I wanted to come back the week of the inauguration, actually, but I was advised that wait for Black History Month. Like the whole point of your show is for the Black culture. So it would be more impactful if I waited until February, which is identified as the month that we celebrate our history, although we know we are Black history and it's always going on throughout the whole entire year. So let's be clear about that point for a second. But I was very gracious to wait and decide, yes, it'd be a great comeback to come back in the month of Black Power. So, welcome everybody. We're going to get started right off the ground, like you know how we always do. If you don't remember what we used to do, let me refresh you now. We get straight into it. We talk about what we talk about. I don't put any hands on or disclaimers about anything. I ask the questions and we just talk about what we need to talk about because this is the platform where we keep it real. This is the platform where we address real things that matter to us, because if we don't address it, how are we going to see somebody coming together to problem solve or create a solution for it? or if we don't put the information out there, then how can we dare keep saying we're not advancing, or we don't have the opportunity, or we're not having this, we're not having that? Well, we're not even putting it out there for people to be able to grow and glow. So this is what you're going to get, and this is what you're always going to get. So let's go ahead and get started with the highlights that I wanted to address. Now, I have my information right here. So we ain't just talking. We actually pulling facts on up here. I'm gonna give y'all a little difference with that. So the first thing I want to do, we're talking about highlights, because it's just February the 4th, and we already have highlights that we need to address just from this year. I'm just only going to talk about this year. I'm not even going to talk about since the last time we was on the show, okay, which would be November. January. And to be more specific, January 6th, the day all hell broke loose in Washington of the DC. And the main thing that you kept hearing that day was, we could never. That was all I kept hearing, which was so interesting to me on different levels. And that's what I want to address. So for those of you who have been living under a rock with SpongeBob and Patrick, January the 6th was the day some heavy Trump supporters went to the Capitol the day that they were counting the votes from the Electoral College to determine officially who had run the presidency. Some Trump supporters were there rallying. They were upset about the possibility, and they decided to storm the Capitol, which means just completely take it over, and not just on the outside, but bust up in through that door and get on up in there. Now you wonder, how can they bust up in there and get on up in there? Well, because there was an insider help. I mean, let's just call a spade a spade. They had to have particular ways to get in that made it easy, especially for the way they, with some of the things they were able to do while they were in there. Someone was just chilling, some was just hanging out, some was using the bathroom in the middle of the floor, some were taking things. So you have to have access granted to you for these kind of things. They were assaulting people, they were assaulting officials, and they were very much creating a very violent and concerning situation that they had to completely take everybody inside of the Capitol building and secure them in a particular location until the grounds was completely secure. They had to put the electoral vote count on hold until what, a couple hours?
Yeah, several hours
Until they made sure all was well, and then they had to restart it. And then even when you restarted it, you could tell the whole mood changed, and the thoughts that the Republicans or those who were going to oppose say that they were against some of the voting and they wanted to change the vote. Even the thoughts that they had originally, some of them changed their mind after that, because they don't want to be associated with what just happened, or to say they approve of what just happened. And so let's talk about that a little bit. When you saw that happen, when that went down, what was your first thought? And then what was your second one? Because I know mine were.
Yeah, so I work from home. I was sitting at my workstation, which is pretty much the dining room table, and I'm in view of the TV. And I hadn't had it on all day, but I knew that they were going to be counting the Electoral College votes. So I tuned in. I was like, hey, let me go turn on CNN. Let me turn on MSNBC. Let me see what's happening here. You notice I said CNN and MSNBC. I didn't say Fox. But I tuned in to see what was happening, and I'm watching, and I'm understanding the process, and I see that they split up into their two rooms, and they begin the process, and there's speakers going on, and then all of a sudden they break in with these views from outside,
right?
And they're showing us these people walking towards the Capitol. Like, okay, there's a bunch of people. They crazy. Let's see what happens. And then as things erupted, I was in shock. I was absolutely in shock. Not that it was happening, but that there was no resistance. Ronnie, yeah.
Continue. We'll talk about that.
Ronnie, if had that happened in Nashville, and they look like us, Jason Hodges would tell you,
we could never.
Nah, man, no, we couldn't.
Matter of fact, Continue.
You
I'll
know,
say no rebels.
so our governor has said that violent protesters are felons in the state of Tennessee, right? And so had we done that in Nashville, we'd all been on felony charges, those of us who survived the insurrection.
Keyword survived.
Those of us who survived the insurrection.
Survived. Because that's why we could never.
I was appalled, man, that our people weren't protected, that our government officials weren't protected, that our representatives weren't protected. There was no regard for their safety. None whatsoever. You know, they had their bunkers that they could dig into and they go in, and the underground tunnels that they could sneak them out through, and all that other good stuff. But think about how they're going to have to adjust that system now.
Yes.
Because
all the different things they're going to have to put in place, the parameters, the different bills and laws, like
they're going to have to go through and change all those passcodes. Yeah. Because all those passcodes are compromised with people who we don't trust. How can they trust anybody on the inside now?
Especially things that were taken, that were private and personal information that we don't really know yet what files they were able to actually get away with and what they're going to do with that information.
Yeah. And I guess one thing that was pretty neat was their energy in this insurrection. They were enthusiastic, they were energetic, they had fervor, they were organized, they planned it out well. I would just appreciate if they keep that same energy when they have to sit on the witness stand. Be as bold on the witness stand. Keep that same energy when they ask you where you were on January 6th. Don't back down. Be proud of where you were.
Be proud. Because you were proud when you took those pictures. You were proud when you posted it. You were proud when you wore your work badge.
Bring all that to the courtroom. Make sure your attorney has it. You bring your phone too. And so when they ask you where you were, you don't have to say a word. Just show the video
and say, "Yep, that was me."
That was me.
Because you did it because you felt so passionate about something. You took off work. You had time that day. You took all the time that day to show your allegiance, right? Absolutely. To prove who you were down with and who you were down for. So my thing is, when you were talking about the shock that they were even able to get that far. Yeah. The shock of how they were handled so delicately, but that was also because they had people working with them that had, so the things that would have come against them, they were on their side. So they wouldn't.
Say this, because Ronnie, I don't want them to kick you off the internet. We're going to make that assumption based upon our observations, our personal observations. There's been nothing proven that they had inside information or that they had inside track, but based on our observations and what we know about law enforcement and how they respond when they feel threatened by suspects, it seems as if they didn't feel threatened by these suspects. It seems as if they knew that this was going to happen. Because I know if 6'2", 200 none your business pounds walk up in the building, I know what happens, right? We all know what happens. If I would have breached the fence, several hundred yards away from the Capitol stairs, we know what happens. What's interesting to me, though, is that this group was not a completely monolithic group. There were African Americans in this group. There were Hispanic Americans in this group. And as we've seen since November, we're not talking about last year, but as we've seen since November, those that have been opposing the vote count are of all races. Obviously, they're mostly white, but there's people of all races that are supporting the previous administration. Yes. And felt like that previous administration was going to continue. People of all different types of ideologies and beliefs, whether it's that it's just common people, all the way up to clergy. And that bothers me on a different level for other reasons. So,
well, nice save, right?
Yeah, we don't want. We don't want allegedly.
These are the things that are on the floor that they're debating and they're looking into. How about that? They're being looked into. But what I did find that was reported a couple of hours before we came on air was the official of how many people were actually charged and what they were charged for, and that ties to however the former presidency may or may not have been connected to it, where they are in those proceedings. And so right now, the final total count of charges is quite high. I was shocked that they were actually going to put forth, they were going to be able to capture, I guess, as many people as they did and actually be able to hold them and put charges on them, because you have to prove so much in this type of a situation in order for this to happen. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know how it ended. I don't know if everybody scattered, ran, or how they were able to get in contact with all these people, but it's about 169 were charged with trespassing or disrupting Congress. 40 were charged with interference with law enforcement. 25 was charged with property crimes. 17 charged with assault. 17 charged with weapons crime. 11 charged with conspiracy, and 5 charged with threats. Now, I don't know how many.
Wait, time out. There was no murder charge? Not one murder charge?
Not one.
Wasn't there an officer murdered? Mm-hmm. And no murder charges?
Not a one. One.
You said 100 and how many?
169 with trespassing or disrupting Congress.
169?
Mm-hmm. Charged.
169 people fell off the building trying to scale the wall.
There was more than 169 there, I'm sure.
Exactly.
But I'm assuming, and if you're trying to figure out where I got my information from, I pulled up the New York Times, and they have pictures of everybody that were charged. They have all their faces, which is interesting. They have all their faces on here and what they were charged for. It's quite interesting how all this is playing out and what all they have to confirm. Because for some of these cases, like the conspiracy one, obviously, and which other one? They said it was going to be hard to prove because you have to prove intent. Not only did you have to prove evidence that they were there, and that's why they were there, but the intent of what they were trying to do. And they even broke it down to how many people were currently, like if there was militia or if it was like an organized group, because they said not everybody there was a part of an organized group or anything like that. They were just, I'm gonna just call it spade because I'm not gonna say that they were completely upset that the person they wanted in office was about to be voted out of office. And so they took all that passion and they did something. They showed up and then it went out of hand. It got out of hand. Planned or not planned, however it's going to end up playing out, planned or not planned, that was the moral story how it happened. These are the charges that are before us. Now, of these charges, how many actually will be convicted? That's going to be the question, because we could never. And I keep saying that because what I kept seeing that whole day was alarming to me. And it actually hurt my feelings. What I kept seeing from my white friends, from my brown friends, and I say brown because I'm talking about what other ethnicity goes into the brown category. All. And I'm sorry to lump you all together, but it's Asian American, Mexican American, Alaskan, Hawaiian, like all those friends. And then my black friends, they kept posting the same image. And the headlines they kept putting for theirs was, they could never. And it was the Black Lives Matter protesting for Black lives not continuing to die versus this image is from the Capitol. And reporting how they can even see, they even now realize that Black people couldn't even have grouped together like that to walk down the street, let alone get that close to the Capitol, without it have been a mass slaughter. And that's what I'm believing would have happened.
Yeah.
Not saying it would have. That's the thought process, that we couldn't even march without all of a sudden there being a law put in place that now it's a felony. Sitting peacefully trying to camp out in front of the Capitol. I knew a
Yeah.
few of my friends that were just camping, wasn't saying a word, didn't storm the Capitol. They just camped out and got arrested for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no way, no way we could never. We wouldn't have enough people to charge because half of us would have been in body bags. We could
Absolutely.
never. And
We
that's
just
the part that made me sad. Because you even can see that now. You even can see the difference in
Yeah.
how Black Americans are treated when they're trying to be passionate about something that matters, their life. Their life. They're actually breathing and functioning and moving about. When
So
they're
can
trying to stand up for that. And now the whole world, and not just African Americans, can see that this is how disproportionately we're being treated. And even when somebody is being obviously violent,
yep.
but that treatment is so much different than when someone else is not.
Can we talk about inherent bias?
Can you talk about what bias?
Can we talk about inherent bias or
Let's talk about
implicit
it.
bias? People, argue about what's right, whether it's inherent or implicit. But it's the thought that in our society, we've given the preconceived notion that Black people are violent. And so when they get upset, you got to back up. You got to be wary. They could tear up stuff, right? It goes back to the primal, the thought that we're primal,
Yes.
that we're animals,
Animalistic,
and that we can't control ourselves, whether it be in violence or sexually, we can't control ourselves, and so we have to be controlled externally.
Right.
And so those external controls are applied against us more quickly and more devastatingly
Yes.
than they are against others, right? And this is played out in so many different situations where they take our boys in second and third grade and they tell us that they are too rambunctious and too loud and too busy, and so they want to control us with drugs, and so that
So now
we're
you've been
giving
diagnosed with ADHD.
ADHD, right? And then along with that diagnosis for ADHD, then we begin to understand that if they're not on their medications, they're not. We said the kids can't focus enough to take this test they've given them, or if they're on the medications, they can't. They're not awake enough to take this test they're given, and then the test is biased in itself. And so now we got a third grader failing the standardized test, and once the third grader fails the standardized test, and the for-profit prisons get that information, they begin to build a bed for that kid.
Yes.
And so they project in third grade when kids begin to take standardized test
Who's going to end up in jail?
which kids are going to end up in jail, and that's how they determine which beds they're going to build, right? And so we do that there, right? And then when our kids get into middle school, our kids are suspended more often. Our boys and our girls are suspended more often. Teachers tell us that they fear our kids, right? And even us, even our parents, we begin to fear our kids as they get older and they grow bigger. We tell boys all the time, don't smile, and so you see these pictures of all these boys not smiling. Or we lean the other way and we tell our kids if they get, if we understand the system, we tell our kids, hey, look, man, I tell my son, dude, you gotta smile. You gotta smile because people don't think you're angry all the time. If you're angry all the time, then they're gonna put you in this pigeonhole.
Right.
And so when something happens, somebody's gonna come and try to control you externally because they think you can control yourself internally, right? And so then we get to, high school, and then if we begin to date, especially our boys, if they begin to date white girls, all of a sudden everybody's scared about it, right? And they think that this boy is going to rape this girl or going to do something else to this girl because he's a Black boy and he can't control himself, right? And then we get into, as we get older, then we get to police officers who are more fearful of us, even if they're good people, even if they aren't racist. If they've got this bias, if this preconceived notion that Black people are more violent, that's why you kill Mike Brown, who's my size. but you don't kill the white dude that walks up and down the street in Akron, Ohio, open carrying an assault rifle.
With a whole assault rifle.
That's how that happens, right? But we don't want to address the implicit or inherent bias.
When who looked more of a threat? A big black boy with no weapons and his hands up, or a white boy, and he is not even. It is in this situation about the white or black because of that's the alleged reason why he wasn't apprehended, but he could have been whatever color with a whole assault rifle, telling you what he was trying to do with it.
Yep.
He told you he was looking to. He told you he was trying to assault someone with it.
Yep, absolutely.
But I'm going to have a conversation with you just in jolly about, we have a shared interest in guns and let you keep walking around.
Yeah.
But absolutely. You're not a threat.
Absolutely.
And the whole reason why we're even out here is because of something that just went down that you were, come on now. And so I agree, the biasness.
Yep. Or go into corporate America. Sammy Cole's on here. He's talking about corporate America. Go into corporate America.
Mm-hmm.
As a black woman, you can't have a bad day. If the higher up the ladder you go, the less opportunity you have to have a bad day. You cannot walk in with attitude. Anything could have happened. Your dog could have got ran over. Your kids gave you trouble before you came into work today.
You can just have a human day.
You can have a human day. Absolutely. You can have any, and you just walk into work. And if you're not smiling and happy-go-lucky, oh, Lord, she's on the warpath today, stay out of her way. And so now you got people thinking that you're not a morning person or she hadn't had her coffee yet, stay out of her way.
Mm-hmm.
And they go out and they're tiptoeing around you. And then we got poor relationships at work. And they say you don't have to be friends with your people at work. Okay, so who gets promoted?
Right.
Who's on the board?
The people that are friendly, the people that know the person, the people, yes.
The relationships. Mm-hmm. You see that in the NFL, where we're not getting jobs at the highest level of the NFL because we don't have those relationships. We haven't built those relationships along the way. Mm-hmm. And those relationships have been built because inherently we've decided that black people are dangerous, that they're angry. You don't want to be around them. Because and we got to deal with that in our society. Mm-hmm. And until we deal with that in our police forces, until we have some training in our police forces that says, hey, let's talk about your inherent biases, regardless mm-hmm. of what race you are. Because we all have them. Let's mm-hmm. talk about your inherent biases. Let's deal with that stuff. And let's deal with that stuff for 6 or 8 weeks. In addition to the 6 or 8 weeks that you get. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I was talking to a former candidate a few days ago. I was like, that's why I can't support any candidate, any politician, any elected official who doesn't think we need to address anything in our law enforcement. If you feel like our law enforcement is good and we shouldn't talk about it, we shouldn't address any issues there, then I can't rock with you. Mm-hmm. Because when something goes down, what are you going to do? You're going to keep that same energy. You're going to say law enforcement is right, everybody mm-hmm. else is wrong. And they're no better than anybody else. They're regular people.
Because in a moment, they'll make a decision based off of how they feel or what they think, even if it's wrong or a misinterpretation, just like any regular person. And to be honest, I hold them to the regard of a regular person because you having a bad day and that's why you coming at me a certain kind of way, or you are actually trying to make amends, or you're not. But see, not everybody cannot lump sum everybody into things, right? Have an overall bias. We can be completely biased and have an overall feeling and feel about police officers. And unfortunately, that's what a lot of people feel like Black Lives Matter is about, that we just completely just hate the police and just forget everything and just let's just be unpoliced and yada, yada, yada. And the whole premise is behind me saying Black Lives Matter. The whole premise behind people are actually marching for Black Lives is because the complete statement, Black lives do matter. It is not as I always say, it is not an exclusive statement. It is an inclusive statement. What we are saying is Black Lives Matter also. It's all inclusive. It is all inclusive.
In addition to other lives matter.
In order for all lives to matter, Black lives have to. Period.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can't have one without the other. And so that brings me to the next point that I would like for us to talk about before we run out of time. The whole premise that Biden and Harris ran on was this. I heard a lot of people, and it bothered me so much. I heard a lot of people talk about how when you're running for presidential election, you can't solely run on social things and things that happen socially and things that happen in social injustice and things that happen on this level and this level. And I'm like, but who are you governing? Are you not governing people? Are you not governing these places? These people from different economical status and different political. So how are you not? How are you going to run on a platform that you're not addressing the things that are going on with the people that you're supposed to be governing? That doesn't make any sense to me. So for you to just completely omit that or act like it's not a thing that is necessary, you're a danger for me voting for it because you're not considering me at all. You're only seeing me as a business arrangement. And I'm more than a business arrangement because my life is at hand here when you make moves. And so the platform that Biden and Harris they kept talking about, right? Which I do want to ask, what does that mean for the nation now for the next 4 years? Was on unity, was on healing the nation, social unity. And then when Biden first came out, the first thing he signed, along with all the other executive orders, was the racial justice and equality order, which talked about fair housing policies, which did need to change. We talked about ending federal use for private prisons and our Native Americans, respecting them, and the Asian Americans, because obviously this became a Chinese virus instead of, so strong, discrimination and things towards them. Removing the Muslim ban so that they can travel, just kind of clearing away with a lot of those things, doing what Democrats do, which is trying to, make things all equal and everybody can, roll. But I think that was the biggest pull and the biggest push behind his platform, which I did respect because he acknowledged what was happening. And if no one acknowledged it, and I think that's also why the fear was so much there and so prevalent on 45 coming back up into presidency, was because we were already there. We was on the cusp of a civil war. Yeah. And the concern was, would that go into full-blown civil war had that happened? And so let's talk about then what we perceive either the fallout's going to be or the response is going to be to this idea for these next 4 years.
So you mentioned all of the social justice and equity executive orders that have been signed. Mm-hmm. When you look at these executive orders, it's easy to say on the surface that he used all these executive orders to reverse what Trump did. Mm-hmm. Redlining, Trump didn't do.
Right.
Redlining was done long before Donald Trump.
I was going to say, it's been there for so long. I remember telling you about it in high school.
Redlining was done long before Donald Trump. Redlining goes back into the early 1900s,
mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
1930, 1940. We talk about discrimination against Muslims.
Yes.
That goes back years and years and years ago. We talk
True, but he's talking about the travel ban that Trump did put in place.
Yeah, he addressed the travel ban directly, right? Mm-hmm. But what I'm saying is that, just like on January 6th, where people said this is not who we are, this is who we are. Redlining and discrimination is who we are. True. Police brutality is who we are as a country. Being fearful of that which we don't understand is who we are. Inherent or implicit bias is who we are as a country. And until we're real about that, we can't address these issues. And so we have to force that issue, I believe, on a local level. Mm-hmm. At some point over the next 2 years, we'll come back and we'll talk about local elections. But I can't stress that enough, that we've got to address this on a local level. We had a contract with Black America that was proposed, and then Biden and the Democrats had a Black America plan. I believe that every locality needs a committee of people who come up with 8 to 10 to 20 direct actions that can be taken locally to address these issues until, as a country, we can address these issues. We can deal with disproportionate lack of Black teachers in Clarksville a lot quicker than we can deal with disproportionate lack of Black teachers in the country. We can deal with fair housing and wage equity, and we can deal with those things more locally quicker than we can deal with this on a national level.
Right.
An example, we don't have to wait for nationally for Juneteenth to be a holiday. We got it done here in the city, in our county, when we wanted it done.
Shout out to the councilman and Mrs. Rashida.
All right, man, she got it done, right? And she got it done with the support of so many of us, right?
Right. Her fellow councilmen and the people of Montgomery County that was like in support.
And so we need to keep that same energy as we do that with the city. You know, the city's about to purchase the Roxy, right? We can believe that they're going to talk about it and have a discussion, but the plans are in place and the ball is rolling. And if that's what's going to happen, we need to have a seat at the table. Everybody needs to have a seat at the table. That facility, if the city is going to own it, should be available for as many people as possible. And the city should profit from that building. If that's why we're taking it over. And so we shouldn't ignore those things happening here locally. We've got to deal with those things. We got to address those things locally. We've got to force people to have us at the table to have these discussions. And we've got to keep the energy that we built last year. Keep that moving. As many people as were out on Wilma Rudolph those first 8 to 10 to 20 days, as many people that showed up at the Breathe Clarksville event, as many people as we got out to early vote in both the primary and the general election, we need to have those same people at every council member, at every council meeting, at every county commission meeting. And no, you can't show up in person because of COVID, but man, there should be more than 20 people on the live stream. And I know what's on the live stream because I'm there and I'm seeing it. There should be more than 30 people on the live stream. Our churches get more than that on live stream on Sunday morning. And we got hundreds of churches in the city, but there's one city council meeting and one county commission meeting. We need to blow that thing up so that they can feel it.
Those are definitely some things that we could do on the local level, but it still has to join together because we can't completely omit what's going on nationally and just do our own thing because then we're starting to divide already. So with this push, what can we see then trickling down to happen that needs to then happen to match that energy that Biden and Harris is trying to put out there? And I'm gonna put some respect on her name, President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. Okay. What can we do to support? Because we put them in office.
Yeah,
we
absolutely.
supported what they were there for, what they were standing for. So what can we do to move forward that promise of unity, to make it a realistic thing while we're keeping that same energy in 2021? Because what we don't want to have happen, what we can't afford to have happen, is to think that we've arrived. To think that we've done what we can do and now they got to do, or we got them in office, now let them do. No, because all they can do is sign a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all he can do is sign a piece of paper. But it takes the people to put that paper into action and hold that person that signed the paper, hold those law officials who move forward behind it and accountability as well. So what can we do on this level that is going to mimic what they're trying to do on an overall level? Because a lot of things he had to put in place so that it can open the doors on the local levels to start doing some things, to start moving some stuff around. But we need to have some action items for some people to be like, hey, this is how we can continue keeping it moving forward, because we don't want all that energy that we was given in 2020 to fizz out because now we have somebody in office. This is actually the time for us to ramp it up, because now we have somebody in office that understands, or at least gives us the appearance that there's understanding, right? And they're trying to create unity and equality and all those things. So this is the time, I think, if none other, we should speak louder and more bolder and show up in more places and ask for more things and rally and have these things, because now the likelihood of being heard and things getting put into place is more so now. So what can we do?
So there's two things that I can think of off top.
Mm-hmm.
One is we've got to support those representatives and those senators who support us. So Cori Bush is a rookie. She's a freshman senator.
Mm-hmm.
Find out what she needs from us. Raphael Warnock, John Ossoff, those people that are fighting for us, truly fighting for us.
Mm-hmm.
Find out what they need from us back home on the front lines. The other thing that we can do, we need to educate ourselves. We need to know what those executive orders mean to us.
Mm-hmm.
And so if there's an executive order about housing and urban development, we need to see how that trickles down on a local level and then hold people accountable for that.
Yes.
And so, and so we need to identify who can help hold people accountable. We need to call people out. Hey, look, I thought they said something was coming down from housing and urban development. What did we find out about that in Tennessee? And so we go and ask Bill Powers. Even if you didn't vote for Bill Powers, he's still our state rep. Ask Jason Hodges. Even if you didn't vote for Jason Hodges, he's still our state rep. Ask Jay Reedy. Even if you don't like Jay Reedy, go ask him. Curtis Johnson. Ask those guys. Okay, so this came down from the federal government. How does that impact us here in the state? And then from the state level, okay, so now we ask our city council persons and our county commissioners and our mayors, hey, this came down from the federal government. This came down from the state. How does this help? How does this help me on Madison Street, on Cherry Blossom Lane, on Cherry Tree Lane, over in Lincoln Homes? How does this help me on Richview Place? How does this help me on Tower Drive, where I live on a daily basis? This stuff is going to trickle down. Let's not miss the boat on that. And so we got to educate ourselves. We got to hold our elected officials accountable.
So one thing I know Rashida said was that for a lot of the people that's in these positions, they have to provide a way for you to get in contact with
Dr. Rashida. Dr. Rashida. Give her doctor. Give her Dr. Rashida. Yeah.
Okay, get me together now. That's perfectly fine. I ain't got no problem with that. When you get comfortable, when you get to know people, get comfortable, you get too comfortable, right?
You're right.
Dr. Rashida, what she did explain to us on a previous episode from season 1 was get to know your officials. A lot of them have to have their contact information out there so that you can call them, email them. There's ways for you to actually bug them to hold them accountable to what it is they're supposed to be doing, or to get the information. Like he said, if you're looking for so what is this order about the housing? How am I supposed to, what does it mean for me? What does it mean for my family member? What does it mean if I'm concerned about housing and that's the area that I feel gifted in to help, then how can I help push this executive order forward? I need to understand this executive order, which is why I printed it out and read it. And then I even also ask other questions and I go a little bit further, because the thing is, you don't want to take anything at face value. You want to do your own research. You want to look into it for yourself. You want to prove the resources that people are giving you to convey this message, right? This is why I always go to CNN, because they just give it to you. They talk about what they're talking about, and they have various people on there from their backgrounds and perspectives, and you can actually just kind of see the things play out, and then you can research it yourself and also look into and ask questions. But you want to educate yourself. Be educated on the topics, on the matter, what's going on here, what resources are here, what companies are out here, what organizations are here, ways that you can help, what can you do. Tuning into this show, you get information, you hear about topics, and then it should spark something in your mind to go look and research. Spark something in your mind to follow up on it. Spark something in your mind that you hear a problem that we're presenting, so then maybe you could come up with the solution. Maybe you're the creative force that we're looking for to help filter that and funnel that through and get that out there. So while we're trying to make sure that this year is just as impactful as last year. Last year was impactful because of what happened socially, the injustice socially, and how people came together to show, okay, this is not okay, let's do something. So this year, we don't want to wait for something else. We don't want to wait on the next person. We want to see what it is that we can do, small or big, that can move the move forward. I may not be able to hold around. That may not even be something that I want to do, but I'm able to have shows like this and bring everybody on here to talk about it so that I can put it out there. I'm able to wear a shirt because if you have a shirt that supports the Black community and there's a cause and there's something you're trying to put before the people, you ain't got no problem with Miss Veronica, okay, supporting that and sending that shirt my way, because I will wear that shirt and I will wear it proud and I will dare someone, because I will have a conversation with them about the shirt, what it means and how they can be a help. Because sometimes advertisement is a way to bring up conversation, to have somebody talk about something that is near and dear to you. People have podcasts all the time that promotes the movement of what we're trying to do. Not only just holding rallies, those are the people that are able to go out on the front line, like we said, and do work. There are some people that play in the backfield and behind scenes is just as important. Having a conversation at the town hall, showing up for the town hall, being present at those meetings, being present at the when they're holding different policies and different hearings to pass different things within your local, showing up there, asking questions, getting information, making them realize that there's people in the community that's concerned about this new thing that's getting ready to get passed, talking to your kids about what's going on. They see, trust me, I work with a lot of people in the community as in my profession, being a therapist. They see a lot of the things that's going on and they're just as stressed and have high anxiety about it just as much as the adults, more so because they feel helpless because what can they do? And then some of them disagree with their parents' point of view, but they got to live there. So there's a lot of discourse that even as a mental health professional, maybe the way you help is providing therapy for those and teaching them how to process this anxiety and going through this. There's so many different ways. Just ask, where can I help? How can I help? Where do I sign up? And we will direct you. We will direct you in some kind of shape, way, fashion, or form, because we need you. And that's just the bottom line. That's just the bottom line. In order to keep that same energy, we need you and we need us. And we need to just go ahead and get on out there and do whatever we can, the best way we can, and as boldly as we can. I appreciate everybody for coming out tonight, getting our show back started and on the roll. Like I said, we grazed over a lot of topics because I just wanted to hit some things just to get us back into the flow of conversation. Next week, we will be discussing allies. That is going to be a big topic because so many people are woke. And now I'm like, what's woke? What's being woke? Because everybody's woke nowadays. Everybody's woke. Of course, if you open your eyes and you actually start to take in what's going on, it gets to the point where you can't deny it anymore. So you're forced woke. Somebody shook you up and woke you up. But my question is, you're so woke, but what are you doing with your wokeness? What are you doing with it? Because the A in allies stands for action. You can't just be an innocent bystander being woke and understanding now, but you're not doing anything. I need to know what are you doing, how you can further do it, how we can help you to be a better ally, and what purpose does your being an ally for us serve actually for the community and for the forward advancement. And there's a lot of people out there that are some phenomenal allies. There's some people out there working, moving, doing a doggone thing. And I appreciate you so much. And I can't wait for us to talk about it and also have you on the show next week so that we can move the bill further, move the movement to the next level, and truly help the people who are trying to become allies or want to know what they can do as they are trying to be an ally. That'll be the episode for you to get more information, because I don't want your support to go unnoticed. I don't want you to feel that it's for naught or whatever the case may be. But I also don't want you to get it twisted and think just because you make a post, that means you're an ally. I'm just going to be blunt. You making a post doesn't make you an ally. That just makes you somebody who are in tune with what's going on in the world right now.
You copy and paste that.
I
You
mean,
copy and paste
you
that.
copy and paste the scripture. That doesn't mean you a
Not at
preacher.
all. Not at all. Let me tell you something. So I guess what you just told us is next week invite our white friends. You
Yes.
didn't say that. I said that. I said next week invite your white friends. Tell them this is not the cookout, but they can come and sit in on the conversation. This is
Yes.
not
This
the
is
cookout. They come sit in on the conversation because
they
you
are
can't be
getting a permission to come to the Black Caucus.
to the conversation. Come to the conversation. Because we got to figure out whether they're awake and laying in bed or they woke up and they put on some clothes and they left the house to go do something.
We can't. We 2020. You woke up. 2021. I need you to move.
You got to get out of bed. Got to get out of bed.
That's what we're seeking, and that's what we know. And so, again, thank you all for joining me tonight. I look forward to this year with you guys and getting real and talking what we're talking about and moving forward. I'm so excited about seeing change and seeing some difference come across the board in all different kind of ways for us. Black people, you are beautiful. Just because this is the month that's been officially identified to celebrate us, we know we are celebrated every day of every year. Your Blackness is important and it is your strength. It is our superpower. And I want you to always love the skin that you're in. And I want you to keep that same energy in all that you do. Until next time.